This hope of Emmanuel, God with us, also known as Jesus' coming, was something that God's people looked forward to for centuries. The prophets were talking about how the Messiah would one day come and walk among the people. And as you can imagine, there was a great deal of expectation, of anticipation, of hope. And then the things the prophets had predicted began to come to pass. Mark talks about one such thing in the beginning of his gospel, pointing again back to Isaiah, whom he quotes in the first few lines of his gospel. "Look, I'm sending my messenger ahead of you, and he will prepare your way. He's a voice shouting in the wilderness, 'Prepare the way for the Lord's coming. Clear the road for him.'" You know, that also sounds a lot like what the prophet Malachi prophesied in the 3rd chapter of his book. But then Mark continues that messenger is John the Baptist, who was in the wilderness preaching ahead of when Jesus began his ministry. But let's focus back on the hope. After hundreds of years, God is making good on sending his promised Messiah. How do you think the people felt? How would you have felt? How do you feel now, knowing what we know about how long the people of God waited and hoped to see what we are fortunate enough to experience every day? Feel free to share your thoughts on that with a trusted friend. Thanks for joining us today, and come back again for another Manna in a Minute.